ourselves now. So I'm Megan. We're all first years. So yeah, we're all home or in Chicago right now. Obviously, we aren't on campus right now, but we just started our spring trimester on Monday. So we're in the thick of things. We're still in class like 5 to 6 hours a day. It's going well so far. We obviously miss like being in person, and our class is pretty close. So that's the only thing that really stinks with this, but they're doing a great job. I'm from California, so that's where I am right now. That's why it's very sunny. And I went to Purdue. I actually graduated in 2015, so I'm a little bit on the older side. I studied nutrition science, so not totally a career change, but just took me a little while to figure out what I wanted to do. So that's me.
All right, I'm Emily. I am from the Chicagoland area. I went to the University of Wisconsin and graduated in 2018 with a degree in rehabilitation psychology and a minor in dance. I took a gap year and worked at an outpatient clinic for a year, and then now we're here. So yeah.
So I'm Xueyan Mei, and you can also call me Janice. I'm from Jiangsu, China, and I studied health and exercise science and double major in studio art in Wake Forest University, and graduated 2019, which is last year. I wish I could take a gap year, but I'm here.
Yeah. Straight through.
Awesome. So yeah, it's totally up to you guys what you want to ask or what questions you have. We're pretty open about anything, and so let's go away.
So I had a question in regards to everything going on with COVID-19. Like, what is Northwestern specifically doing with the situation, and how are they dealing with it?
It's been pretty good for what's been going on. So we went online like mid-March, and we finished out our winter trimester online. And then we had 2 classes that are now into this trimester just due to the hands-on learning that was in that class. So they haven't really taken anything out due to COVID-19. It's just been rearranged. And now we're starting our next trimester. So what we do is we have the same class schedule like we would if we were at school, and we just all go on Zoom online at the same time and have classes like that. And so the professor, right now we're kind of front loading a lot of our lectures. And so they lecture, the chat's open, and there's usually 2 professors on every Zoom call. So when like someone is monitoring the chat and someone's lecturing. So if there's questions, they answer them in real time, which has actually been really nice. And then, yeah, that's what we've been doing kind of right now. Wrapping up last trimester, professors found really creative ways to teach online using just different demos or videos. They've utilized the breakout rooms a lot where we work in small groups. Our anatomy professor, we had like 1 or 2 more labs of anatomy, and she went into the lab and actually dissected and did it live for us to watch. So considering everything, they've been very accommodating, which has been nice. And they've been updating us every Monday with just what's new and what kind of they're going through. And tomorrow we actually have like an in-person or in Zoom person meeting with them just to talk about things, which is nice. So they've been very understanding, and we're hoping we're going back in June. That's my hope. We have our first clinical experience in July, and so far everything has been as normal. Like we've been still going through everything as if that's going to happen. So we're kind of just in it for the ride right now.
Yeah. Again, the second years as well, they were supposed to be on their second clinical rotation now. And just with everything that happened, that got pushed. So they're going, what was supposed to happen, they were supposed to be on a clinical rotation right now this spring trimester, and then finish their last didactic trimester in the summer. So they're just kind of flip-flopping that, and they might try to combine their third clinical experience with the second one that they missed. The nice thing is that Northwestern exceeds the hours that you need to graduate worth of like clinical work. So they have a little bit of wiggle room since your third year is like 2 13-week clinical rotations. So hopefully that won't be affected at all. But yeah, they've done, considering that it happened like somewhat in the middle of the trimester and like very rapidly, I thought they did a really good job at kind of just rearranging everything. And then it's a fluid situation. Like they're all trying to figure it out as well. But like Emily said, they keep us updated. We have the first 4 to 5 weeks of our trimester kind of laid out right now. And then hopefully, yeah, we'll get more info in the next coming weeks. But
Yeah.
Are you guys all doing okay with all the changes? I know, it kind of sucks, especially like if anyone's seniors or has like school stuff. I know that's hard for you guys, but it'll make it that much better when we can all go back.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I just want to add into that. There's like a few more updates from the admission office, maybe related to any of you guys. It's like they had few changes related to the application process. There's one is like the office starts to accept online anatomy class and pass or fail classes. If any of you are taking any online class right now, or like to fulfill the prerequisite, it should be okay. And observation hours were being cutting into 50 hours minimum. So any of you are concerning about the observation hours would be good. And there's like a GRE code. If anyone were confused about the GRE code, be 7756, because people are getting confused by that a lot.
Cool. Did that answer your question for all of that stuff about everything?
Cool. Emily, there's a question in the chat for you.
Oh.
Did you feel like taking a gap year made it harder to get back into things?
No, I don't think so. It was only 1 year, and I took some classes in between just to keep up on my anatomy and phys. Like I took a couple through the community college, so it was like kind of in between. But something I really liked about Northwestern is their program is it's set up very professionally. Like we go to class, we start in normal time. We start at 8 a.m. and we have class till about 3 or 5 every day, with like an hour lunch break between noon and 1. So the transition of going to work and working clinical hours every day, and then transitioning to going to school, like waking up in the morning, taking the train to class, doing the 8 to 5 day, coming home, like everything felt very on a professional work schedule. The only thing added was just obviously the amount of studying that you come home with. So I thought the gap year was really great for me to learn a lot of clinical skills and hands-on stuff. So I didn't think I would love it, but I loved having that time. So it wasn't too hard of a transition, and the program they're really great at helping you with any kind of problems you might have with adjusting to the curriculum, whether you're coming from a different career right out of grad school or took a couple years and now you're coming back in.
Yeah, I can kind of speak to that too, because I know, well, I took like 3 years off, and I was working full time like in a clinical setting. So I hadn't taken like anatomy and physiology like for 4 or 5 years, and I did totally fine. Like, yes, they give you all the info you need, so it's not like obviously they want a basis of foundation, so that's why you have those prerequisites, but I don't think it really like put me behind the rest of my classmates, or I didn't feel like I could get up to speed. It's just, you kind of just have to put a little more, I don't know, background work into it. But you would be totally fine taking a year off or a couple years off. And to speak to like our class, I would say, I don't know the exact, but I'd say like at least half of us, if not more, have at least taken a year off. And then there's maybe a handful of people, maybe like 5 to 10ish, that like had a career change or have taken like 4+ years off. And then I'd say so we have like 90 students, I don't know, maybe like 30 to 40 came straight from college. So it's a good mix. And I know that was my concern coming in. I was like, I'm going to feel like the old person in the class. Like, I've been out of school for a while. I don't think anyone even like knows that I've been out of school for that long. And nor does it really matter. Like, we're all there working towards a common goal. And you're never going to feel like you're put into a situation where it's like, oh, you only hang out with the like post undergrads, or you only hang out with the career changers. Like, it's not a thing at all.
Yeah, I really don't know how old some people in our class is sometimes. Like, when we came in, I had no idea. So, and also some people like have kids or are getting married or planning weddings. So I think the program also realizes that everyone is different personal life outside of school, and so they know if you have some problems, and they're very accommodating if anything ever comes up or whatnot too.
I had a question.
Oh, go ahead.
So with having such a large class size, like you said, you have 90 plus students, how easy or difficult is it to get in touch with your professors for help, let's say, even before this whole COVID-19 thing came out?
I would say they are like super accessible, both during the class and outside of the classroom, because in the class, if it's not lecture based, we're like either doing labs or any practicals. It would be like 5 to 10 professors in the classroom, and we will like most likely have one professor teaching the technique, and then we'll like break out into small groups, and all the professors will be available at that time. And I feel like during this time, we're like always having extra eyes on if we're having lectures, and people are all the professors answering questions, and we're like getting into breakout rooms to do the group discussion, so we can always have someone there. And all the students will be assigned with an advisor, so you can always get in touch with someone if you needed to.
Yeah, I mean, I came from an undergrad university of like.
Yeah,
Go for it, Emily.
Oh, no, I'm probably going to say the same thing as you. I was just going to say I love our professors. I think they're super accessible. They're a lot more personable than I thought that they were going to be. Like, I thought it was going to be like very strict and professional, but they all go by their first name to us, and they are super easy to grab in big lab sections. Like, if you're usually broken out into, like Janice said, like 8 to 10 people and a professor, but they circulate throughout the room when we're practicing all these skills. So you just like call one over, they work with you, you move on. Like, I don't feel like the class size is a negative thing at all, because it's actually awesome, one, to learn from everybody, but two, like, I don't feel like our learning is limited because our professors are like rock stars. And even if it's not the head professor, the like other professors that work in the course too are fantastic. So it's like, it's not like, oh, I don't get to see the main one as much. They're all great in my mind.
Yeah. Agreed. Oh, I was just going to say too, I mean, I came from an undergrad of like, gosh, my classes had like 400 students in them. I don't think I talked to a professor maybe like once. Like, that's how I went through school. And I was like, oh yeah, that's just the norm. Kind of thinking like, okay, graduate school would potentially be the same, but like not at all. The professors are great. Yeah, they want to get to know you, so they'll make it their goal to know everyone by their first name basis in the first couple months of class. And kind of like Emily alluded to, I think it's actually a positive, just because we have so many just like full-time faculty as well as adjunct faculty that comes from like neighboring clinics, hospitals, the Shirley Ryan Ability Lab. So you have access to so many different resources and so many different specialties, because we might have a professor that's like cardiovascular and she can tell you everything about that, or pelvic health, or pure ortho. So yeah, if anything, I think it's almost more of a positive, because you just get so many more experiences from the professors.
Yeah, and another thing that I thought of is they're also very great at like wanting to know if you have any curiosity questions. So you might ask all these questions about lecture, but then if you have like a cousin or you personally have something that we talked about in lecture, like they're all about talking with you about it, figuring something out. They're always willing for you to come up to their office or stay after class. So they're super accessible.
Yeah. And I felt like there's one thing I hate at the beginning, because like you can always hear like so many different perspectives if you ask the same question, but it's actually good because there's like no certain correct answer to clinical questions. So if you just ask multiple professors, they may just give you like different answers from their background. So it's always a good to know.
Yeah, that's good. Good thought.
I was just wondering, what made you guys choose Northwestern? Like, what do you guys think that's the unique perspective of Northwestern DPT program?
I'll start because it kind of goes in with what we were just talking about.
Mhm.
So they, after you like apply, and if you're admitted or like high on the wait list, there's like the open house in January that you'd be invited to. And I think just hearing like all the professors talk about how dedicated they were to mostly the students. I mean, they're like, we're willing to go above and beyond for you. We're always, I remember like one thing stuck in my head, that they were like, we're always striving to do more. They were never content with what they were teaching us. They were like, we want to give you more every year. We're looking to revise the program and add more things, or see what we can do to give you guys more resources. So it just seemed like they were super devoted to the students and developing like PTs that would do well. And then too, it's a feel thing. I mean, unfortunately right now with everything that's going on, you guys like can't go visit the school right now, but you'll be able to do that at some point. So I just remember like being on campus, talking to other students, talking to faculty, and even at that open house, they had alumni come, and hearing the alumni just still have like continual praise and talk about the opportunities they had after school, and still the connection that they have to their peers, as well as the old faculty and other alum. It kind of was like a feel thing of, I could see myself here for 3 years, professionally and personally as well. And Chicago's pretty great. I know a lot of you guys are from like around the area, or maybe visited, but it's a fun city, and it's nice because like school's hard. It's very hard. But when you're in a fun city like Chicago, there's so many different outlets of like after a hard exam week or after finals, where you can just go and kind of relax. So that was me.
Yeah, mine were pretty similar. I kind of talked about it a little bit before, but I really liked the professional aspect of it. It was a good transition from like everybody was graduating and getting into jobs, like my friend group and everything. And it was nice to kind of also have something where I was 9 to 5 somewhere from Monday to Friday, doing something, and then have my weekends off like a lot of the people, like my friends that were transitioning into professional lives. So it didn't feel like I was still in an undergrad kind of an atmosphere, because it is truly in like the heart of the city. It's in one building. It's, I don't know, that whole environment I really liked. And then what sold me at the open house was definitely the people and the professors. Like seeing, like Megan said, seeing the dedication, how just students interacted with each other, or alumni that came back, or just the professors, and like engaging with us as incoming students, and just making sure you're comfortable, ask questions, wanted us to have the best experience. Like, I felt like it was very personal, and I loved that about it. And also just Northwestern's reputation itself, I think, is a great name, and the opportunities that stem from it is wonderful, and that's just like an additive bonus on top of it. It really was just like the environment that I could see myself living in for a couple of years.
Yeah, I would totally agree with they said, and for me, I was like not sure because I didn't like made it to the open house at that time, but I went to visit the school later on and get to observe like how they do the classes, and it happened like they have a like hands-on class and break out into small groups to do the interview. And I really like how they have like small group discussion and with like the supervising faculties along the side. And so you can just get constant getting feedbacks from them. And the other thing is I really like when I actually made it to the program, I feel like everyone here is like very supportive and concerning people, and also like everyone is very intellectual, so it's a challenging environment, but it's kind of like keep you up all the time, and you can always find someone to share if you have any concerns.
To go off of that too, because I know one of my concerns was like, oh my gosh, is it going to be super competitive? I mean, it's Northwestern. Sounds like this great name school. I don't feel that at all with this program. Like, yes, we're all type A people. We all want to do well. Like, we're all very dedicated, but we're all there to help each other. Like, so many of the classes, you're using other peers and classmates to kind of learn and practice skills. So, I mean, we're all together. They're learning it together. It's like you always want to help each other out. The faculty wants to help each other out. But never do I feel like, oh my gosh, I need to do well because, you know, it's super competitive and it's going to affect like, I don't know, my next job or something. Like, that's not the case. And I don't know if this is the case for any programs, but there's no like ranking, like, I don't know, class rank or grade, stuff like that. So that's never a concern either. Like, all faculty will say is like their goal is to graduate great PT students and great DPTs. So it's not like we're competitive with each other, and you won't feel that ever. So
Yeah, and just with the like large class size too, you definitely find your like niche of friends, just one based on how like where you sit the first day and who you kind of connect with. But the thing I've like kind of gotten to know more as we're in the program is it's really awesome to just practice with other students in the class that I don't usually practice with, because they just have a whole other way of doing it. They might have talked to one of the professors a little bit more in depth about something that I didn't, and vice versa. So it is a really cool environment where you get to interact with a lot of students that all have different perspectives, and they want to teach you, you want to teach them. Like, nobody's kind of fighting to be better than the other, which has been really awesome to be part of.
And everyone is so good at just sharing study resources, textbook, and everything outside of class.
I was going to ask your guys' study habits. I know different things work for different people, but going from undergrad to PT school, how have things changed study-wise?
I can start with this one. So we have a bunch of different formats of exams. So we still have some written exams where they're just like multiple choice. We take them on our iPads and everything. And then we have some where they're oral exams. So you sit with a professor and they have a list of about 7 questions. They ask you it, you explain the phenomenon they're asking about, and then you go on from there. And then we have practical exams where we have a patient. If they're a lower stakes practical exam, we'll be the patients for each other, or the second year class will be the patients for the first year class. And then for final exams, they actually have actors and actresses that are the patient, and those are like skills that we worked on all trimester. Studying for a lot of my habits that worked in undergrad for written exams continued. But what's changed a lot is I spend a lot more time after school staying on campus and doing a lot of skills with partners or groups. I've done a lot more hands-on skills, which is just something that kind of comes naturally with the material. There's a lot of stuff that we have to study that you just can't sit and look at a book and study. So you kind of adapt them as you go. But like I said a little earlier, like working with each other and studying that way has helped me.
I mean, I have similar stuff to say. So
Yeah.
Another question.
go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
I know, do you guys usually type your notes or handwrite your notes?
So we're probably all talking, well, maybe some of us on our iPad. So at the beginning of the year, as like a part of your technology tuition or fee, we're all given iPads, and we do all our like notes on them. That's where all our teachers, it's like we use this Canvas website, but you just bring all your notes to Notability. All of us get this like Apple Pencil, and then you can like draw on slides and everything, or pictures that they provide you with. So I'd say for the most part, that's what everyone does. I personally like to handwrite things out after. So that's what I might do, is like take notes in class. And then for me, studying is comprised of just like writing out the terms and whatnot. But no need, I actually don't have a personal computer. I only have my iPad. And it's been totally fine. And you're given a keyboard as well with it. So not that you have like a million papers to write in PT school, but when you have couple things come up, it totally does the job. So iPad all the way.
Yeah,
I actually save a lot more. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I just say it actually like makes things way easier, because like in my undergrad, I used to just like carrying notebooks and like textbook with me, but you always forgot something when you get out of the dorm room. But if you got an iPad, you just had everything all. And there's computer available in our department. So if we need to use any software or anything you need a laptop to deal with, you can always use it.
Yeah, I was someone who liked to write a lot, handwrite stuff, draw things out. I do that as like an alternative study habit, but it did take me a little bit to get adjusted to the iPad. But after you do, it's super helpful. It's really nice for anatomy, because when you have the PowerPoints in front of you, you can just draw right on it. And the professors usually do that as well. So your notes are coming just like right off of what's happening. It's really nice. And then everything, like Janice said, is on your iPad, like textbooks, our schedule, Canvas, everything. So when you go to study, you really just need like your iPad, and then you need like each other to like work on, which is a really nice like it was a hard transition at first, because I thought I'd want like iPad and then like a notebook or some other device that I used to use in undergrad. But since everyone's on the same thing, it's a lot easier, because then we share notes through it, and it's like the professors use that as a really good tool for us to learn. So
yeah. And then going off of that too, textbooks aren't really a thing. So I know like with undergrad, you have to kind of take into account an extra, I don't know, couple hundred a month at least for textbooks. The only textbook that we have actually had to get a hard copy of is our anatomy textbook. And it's part of like, I don't know, it was like an $150 fee at the beginning of the year, where you get like an APTA kit. So some kind of accessories you'll be using throughout the labs. And the book was a part of that. So that's the only book we've really had a hard copy of. Everything else, like we've alluded to, you can share online, or someone has like a online copy of it and we all just share it. So that's something too, if you're looking at like expenses, it's a nice thing to kind of check off the list because I haven't spent any money on textbooks.
Yeah, and I'm definitely someone who likes the textbook just to have another resource, but everything has been passed down from second years or other classmates that got it from their second years or anything like that. So I haven't bought anything.
On the topic of like financials, do any of you know, just in general, if Northwestern overall offers a good amount of like scholarship opportunities, different forms of financial aid, and anything you know about in terms of that?
So I know after, if you're admitted in like December time, they have scholarships available through the university. I want to say it's only like 3 or 4, and I mean it's all graduate school, especially like a medical type of program. They aren't going to be a crazy amount of money, but I know they definitely had them available through the university. Janice, do you have that document, or is it on?
I think they already
line?
like posted online. There's
Okay.
yeah.
Because
can
I
get the
think
link.
through the Northwestern DPT like Perspective student website, there is a link to some other just in general like graduate school scholarships. And then as for first year, I know there's not as many scholarships available, but ones that even aren't linked to Northwestern, I know there's more opportunities available like second and third year as well. So there are opportunities available. It's not like everyone's going to get them. And in general, like I was saying, unfortunately, graduate schooling, they're just not as abundant as you'll see in undergrad. But I know, yeah, and Janice just posted it in our chat, that link to it. And two, if you're able to reach out to like Daniel, he can get you in touch with the person who does all the financial stuff at Northwestern. Molly, is that her name? Did I make that up?
Her name's Emily.
Emily. She's awesome. And I found the whole process of financial aid and loans, everything very simple. Like Northwestern lays it out well for you. So that's another good person to talk to if you have specific questions, I would say.
Yeah, I just went on the like physical therapy and human movement science website for Northwestern's program. And yeah, there is, I think Janice, that link is like all of the scholarships that are offered either through Northwestern or just general grad school ones. So definitely take a look at that. But yeah, like Megan said, the financial like resource aid person is great. I've heard really, really good things, and she's always been super helpful to all students when they have questions or just explaining what loans are, what you need to do, kind of all that stuff.
Thank you.
Okay, and then in the chat, Haley asked, I noticed you mentioned the synthesis project above. Could you elaborate on what that is? Sure. Okay, so I'll talk a bit about it. So this was another reason I was gonna say why I chose Northwestern as well, because every student is required to do this synthesis project, which is essentially a research project with one of the faculty members, and it's in a group of usually like 4 to 5 students. They might be a little bigger in some of the cases, but you start it. So we started it this winter trimester, and there's, gosh, I want to say there's like 15 to 20 projects going on with the faculty. And you get to hear about all of them, and then you get to rank your favorite ones. So you get one of your top 5 choices that you're interested in. And then you start working on it your first year, and you meet every week with the faculty as well as the other members in your group. And the goal is, I mean, we didn't get to that point yet with our synthesis project, but you're actually doing like clinical projects where you're testing on patients, or if you're doing, there are some ones that aren't like, you won't interact with patients. It might be, I know there's one that you're like working with with rats or mice or something. So there's a whole slew of like different cases that you can work on. But you should expect to work on it throughout your first year, throughout your second year. Some groups actually go and present at like CSM, which is the combined section meetings of the APTA. So it's a pretty cool opportunity, and the faculty you're working with are like experts on everything they're doing. So you'll learn a lot, but I think it's a great positive to just kind of help your learning. And it's usually in a subject that you're really interested in.
Yeah, going off of that, so the projects do range. I know sometimes research is not everybody's favorite thing, or it might be. I was super excited about it, but I know some incoming students are worried about having to commit a portion of their education to research. Just some pros out of that is it's just an awesome thing to have on your resume when you go look for jobs later. You have research or just like a more in-depth study of something that you might want to do later. And also the projects range from super involved research to stuff that's a little bit less research heavy. Like I know the anatomy one is a lot more of a creative project where you're doing dissections and stuff, but you might, through your dissections of a certain body part that you choose, you might come up with something that you want to interpret into a research project. So they definitely do range. So if you're at all nervous about that, I wouldn't be. And it's an awesome opportunity to just like have a close mentorship with one or a couple of the faculty members. I know that swayed my decision a lot with the project I chose. I really liked the faculty. I find them somebody I want to be or do something like them when I am a professional, and I wanted to work closely with them. So it's a cool opportunity.
When does
And
this
also,
happen?
when?
Yeah.
So we get presented the projects our first trimester. At the end of it, they tell us all of the current projects that are going on with professors or any of the new ones they're starting up. And then we rank them at the end of our first trimester. Then we start working on the project at the beginning of the winter trimester. And then we're on it until you graduate. And some, depending on the project, like I know one started this year, one of the professors was looking for people that might want to also do it later on after graduation. So if it's something you're like super into, it's definitely a possibility. And also, like Megan was saying, you do have the opportunities to present at like amazing conferences that we get to go to as part of Northwestern students. And like, it is a really cool experience. I didn't present, but I went. And it was just really cool to see some other classmates and professors presenting. It was just incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And there are some are ongoing projects, but there's always like new projects coming up, and the topics, as Emily said, it's like super range widely in like any settings you can think about, or any areas you may want to try, you can apply for that too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so as far as like graduate school being pretty stressful with all the work and everything, does Northwestern have any support systems such as like insurance for physical or mental health?
Yeah, so they have a center called CAPS. I could not tell you what it stands for. I don't know if any of you two know.
I know, I'm trying to think.
But it's just like it's
Center.
a resource to us if you need anybody to ever talk to, mental health. Like I said earlier, the financial aid is very good about talking about all of the paperwork that kind of goes into it. The person that does our health insurance stuff or like healthcare stuff that we have to have for Northwestern is very great. So there's these like little pockets of people that are very helpful. But also the faculty is really helpful in that domain. Literally with every email I feel like we're getting, every professor is always like, don't forget that we're resources to you, and if you're like struggling with something, you can come talk to us. And I would say like classmates are kind of that resource too. I definitely have made some friends in the program that are great at reaching out to me when they can tell I'm off my game on a day, and I can do the same to them. So there are resources. And then just since we're on the grad campus of Northwestern, there are things like the CAP Center for mental health, or just if you ever need to talk things out or talk about the stress. And they do take that stuff into consideration a lot. And they really do take student feedback to any of those programs or anything. So the resources are pretty wide, which is good.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I totally agree. Like, the best resource is everyone just around you, the classmates, the faculties, and also we have a like peer mentor program. So everyone once getting into the program will be assigned with a second year mentor, and so a lot of like resource like textbook and information to the clinicals will be shared through the second years. Yeah, and I felt like everyone was just there to help us get us through.
Thank you.
That's another thing to go off what she was saying. The second years, and well, we don't see the third years because they're on their clinical rotations, but I remember when I was coming in, I was kind of like, oh, I think it'd be cool to like interact with the second years, and I don't want it to feel like there's this big divide. Never do you feel like that. Especially what Janice was saying, when you're paired with your second year. I know some people are like really close with their second year buddies. Other people don't talk to them as much. I personally talk to my second year buddy like probably weekly or every 2 weeks. And she's always like checking in on me, just asking how I'm doing or if it's a hard exam week. But also the second years are great about helping you get through those crazy exam times. There are a lot of like the TAs in some of the classes you'll have in your fall and winter trimester of your first year. And they're always there to just like provide extra help, more hands-on support, give you like helpful info about what to expect for a test. They're totally there to help you, and you'll never feel like, oh, there's this hierarchy of like, I'm a second year type deal. So I thought that was a big bonus to it as well. Just having that set of eyes that's like already gone through everything and having their support throughout it.
Yeah, and we also do something called patient management, where you're paired with a second year that you go into the clinic and do a treatment day at various clinics throughout the Chicago area. And that's also another opportunity for you to be with a second year. And I actually got super close with that person, like that second year, more than, well, I guess I talked to my buddy a lot too. But there's also like other opportunities for you to interact with other people in the class. And then outside of school, they're really good at just being like social resources for you and telling you like, you guys have like a really tough couple weeks coming up because you have a lot of exams, but like make sure you guys break, because you can break after this. Like, of course, it's not that bad. Like, they know what we're going through. So they're very good at like reminding us that there's an end to the crazy week we might have, or we need to go do something fun, or we might all go do something together. Like, they're really good at that stuff too.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah.
I was wondering kind of what like the housing situation is for students. Do most of them do along the same things, or is it pretty much up to you as to what you want to do?
Definitely varies. I don't know. Go ahead, Janice.
Yeah, I feel like it pretty much just depends on what would you like, because like every year we did for this year, and for our class we have Excel sheet once all the admitted students are in the Facebook group. So we post Excel sheet and everyone puts their information in, and people who are interested in finding a roommates in the program can just email or text the person you want to be roommate with. And otherwise, I'm living with someone outside the program. If you know anyone or have family members in the area, you can always do so too.
Yeah, it definitely varies. I know some people likes to live really close to campus and not have a commute, but pay a little bit more to live there. A couple of people like to live a little bit outside of the like city and still have to commute a little bit. Some like to live in little neighborhoods of the city. It kind of depends on your price point. If you want to live with classmates and if you want to commute in the time, but there are people that definitely live like in the suburbs and commute into the city every day, or live with family like in some of the neighboring suburbs of the city. So it's kind of up to you, but it's nice that spreadsheet that Janice was talking about. Like if you do want a roommate in the class, there's the spreadsheet is very, like has all these different things about you, and it was really easy because that's how I found my roommate, to find somebody. And then we live in one of the northern neighborhoods of the city, so we don't pay as much as like if you lived really close, but I still get that city vibe. And then I don't know if you guys know that you get a venture card with school. It's part of your tuition, but it's an unlimited rides through the CTA. So you can take the like CTA train or buses to school. So that's another thing to consider too.
Sorry, it's my cat.
Oh, that's cute.
I know you guys have a close relationship with Shirley Ryan. How often do you guys get to experience that throughout your first year, or do you guys know if you're going to experience it your second or third year, or is that just a clinical experience?
So a lot of our faculty are actually associated. They have some, I don't know exactly what the correct term is, but like they have a lot of our faculty work part-time hours over at Shirley Ryan. So if we aren't going there super often, we get so many of like the clinical cases they talk about or the experience. But also like Emily was talking about those patient management rounds, a lot of the opportunities to go observe and work with patients are at Shirley Ryan. And I know this year we've only seen opportunities for our clinical education site 1, but I think there were like at least 10 spots at Shirley Ryan, if not more. So, and I don't know the correct verbiage or term, but we do have some type of partnership with them. And you'll definitely see a lot of like the adjunct faculty or a lot of our full-time faculty still have part-time hours there. So that's another really cool thing. I don't know if anyone's ever been there or volunteered there, but I volunteered before I started school, and I think that's what kind of sold me as well on Northwestern as well as PT. It's just this amazing facility. They're doing like the best research there. The therapy cases you'll see and the stories are just amazing. And they actually gave us the opportunity within our first couple months of school to actually go over and tour it. So I'd say it's it's an awesome relationship to have.
I volunteer there now, so that's why I just
Nice.
asked
Cool.
Yeah.
how much you guys get to experience it.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
great.
Like Megan said too, that we have so many faculty from there. If there's a part of Shirley Ryan that you wanted to go observe in and our faculty does it, like they're so comfortable with you being like, hey, can I come shadow you for a day or hang out with you for a day? They're really good at all that kind of stuff, as long as it works with whatever patient case and like realm they're in. But that's something that's awesome, especially them. And then also like Northwestern Memorial, a lot of our faculty work there, obviously. And there's been moments where I've talked to some faculty or some of the grad students that also do work there and been like, hey, can I come see what you do for a day? And they're very open to it, which is cool.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
What
I
area?
have
I'm sure you, oh, go ahead.
Go
I
ahead.
have a question. Speaking about like resources, I know a lot of schools put PT program in their like school of rehab or like other schools, but Northwestern has it in the School of Medicine. So do you think that's more of an advantage or a drawback because you have to split resources with medical students and PT students?
I guess I've never like thought about it too much. I think it's always been a positive One, because I mean, Feinberg Medical School is pretty great. So if you're associated with that name, but also, I mean, I'm just thinking about anatomy. Like our teacher, she's amazing, our anatomy teacher, but she also does the medical students, and like she just always raves about how she like loves the PT students. And we get like, I'm thinking about Randy too, how I just like what another
Yeah.
adjunct professor in anatomy who also does the medical school. Yeah, I think it's a positive thing. I don't really, I guess I don't know what to compare it to because that's all I know. Yeah, do you guys have more to say about that?
I'm not sure, but because we have like nothing to compare with, but
Yeah.
I feel like definitely we get some opportunities just to talk to medical students as well, and just to like teach them about like how PT, like what we are doing, and because we have like events with medical school like Med Balls, and also like if the COVID-19 is not going on, we have like an anatomy lab with medical students and to teach them like what we are doing in our anatomy labs. So I feel like there's definitely like more opportunity just to getting in touch with other health professions if we are under the medical school.
Yeah, and just to kind of lay out, I don't know if any of you guys have been to the school at all, but so we're in one big building, and we have 4 floors within that building, all just for PT. So the medical like classrooms and everything is a totally different building and section. The only classroom space we share is the anatomy lab, but we both have our own sections of the lab, and we have our own cadavers that we work with. So the ones that are assigned to PT are PTs, and then the med ones are different. So we don't really share any of those kind of resources, if that's what you're kind of talking about. But like Janice and Megan said, like the interdisciplinary work we get to do with them and just some of the programs that are offered between them is kind of nice, because they are a body of professionals we're going to be working with in any PT setting. We're going to be working with medical doctors. So it's a good place to start some of those relationships, which is good.
Yeah, thank you.
Haley put another thing in the chat. Are there any service opportunities abroad that are specific for Northwestern students?
I know there's clinical opportunities abroad to Chile and what the other
Is it
country?
Belize?
Belize, yeah.
Yeah.
And some of them are required language proficiency, like Spanish, but yeah. Have you guys heard any other service opportunities?
Those are the big ones, I think. And it's not, I guess we aren't as well versed with them since it would be for the clinical education, I think 3 and 4. So that would be in our 3rd year. I'm trying to think if there's anything else like service wise.
We abroad, I'm not sure, but we do something called the PACE project that everybody has to do, where you have to do a certain amount of hours in community outreach related to your professional goals. So I don't know if any student in the past has related it to something abroad. I'm sure it's a possibility because that project is very kind of what we want to make of it, which is cool. But like we've said a lot, Northwestern has a huge network. So if you know of somebody that does this cool program that you want to be part of, it just takes an email through this like Northwestern network, and you have opportunity, which is really cool. So nothing that I can think of specifically, but I'm sure if you were to seek out that or talk to some professors that might have done that in the past, they would lead you to the right direction, which would be helpful.
What is one highlight that you guys had from your experience in the program, like a favorite memory in the classroom or just with other PT students?
There's so many.
I know, I'm trying to like pinpoint.
We
It's
have,
funny.
go ahead, Megan.
Go ahead.
It's funny because like my memories go to, I mean, there's some hard exam weeks where you're just like overloaded, or I think like the end of finals last year when it's just like, it's so cool to see like we all got through it, we all did well, and then everyone's just like so happy and we're all just like celebrating together. So it's those moments, it's like you forget about some of the hardships because it's like you remember just like those great times that we all get to celebrate together, and kind of like congratulate on each other on what we got through and like everything we've learned, and then to kind of look back at it together and be like, whoa, like we did that all, we learned that all, like we did a full patient encounter, like an hour worth of a patient encounter, and we came into this like never have even done a patient interview before. So it's funny that my mind goes to more like the celebration type stuff, but we were able to celebrate because of all the hard work we were able to do together and like successfully have an outcome. So it's my broad kind of favorite memory, I guess.
Yeah. I would say mine was, I have a lot, but on a day-to-day basis, I love going to school. I like miss it so much because it's just such a good environment to be in. The faculty's awesome. The people are awesome. You're learning all this really cool stuff. I just love doing that every day. It's like the best thing. But this past February, we've talked about it a little bit, but the CSM conference.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, me and Megan, we actually stayed together when we went.
Yeah.
But Northwestern pays for your conference ticket to go to this huge conference. And it was in Denver this past year, and next